Hello, gang. This is Mike, or Nog, however you know me. I just wanted to watch some of my old edits, most of them in order, and just see what I learned each time. So hopefully this will be somewhat educational if you're trying to get into video game editing. So this first one is very old. It's 8 years old. And it's just a CSGO frag movie. And so the way I recorded cinematics back then was I would just use WASD to move around, and I would bind these movement commands to I, J, K, and L. So I kind of had like two sets of movement keys. That might be a lie, actually. I think I did these with my mouse. And a trend in the beginning here was like my song choice wasn't that great. I wasn't really into like discovering and finding new music that I really liked. That's something that kind of spawned from editing video games more and getting more involved in the community, hearing like what other people choose for the music, and then my music taste just kind of went from there. So in the beginning, there's a few exceptions where I think my song choice kind of holds up. This video just feels like it's 8 years old, but there's nothing really going on here. We weren't good at the game, but that's really it. The first one, it's just like a frag movie sort of thing with shitty frags and bad editing. So I was also using, this is before I used Vegas. I'm pretty sure I was using some weird, I think it was called like Video Pad or some shit like that. I can't remember. This next one's more of the same. But I did switch it up here. So the cinematics look a little bit better. So I would just leave the camera in one spot and then do this pan left to right in post, which made them look a little bit better. This one I'm moving, this one as well. I was still just kind of doing the mouse movement cinematics. Just more frags though. Most of these early ones are just frag movies, but I was doing this mini edit series. I would just do like one cool clip that I got and edit it around that. And that clip comes back this video. I might be in Vegas at this point, because I see the glint and shit, and I did some color correcting. I have resample on. But this one had some cool ideas, like that transition. Just simple shit, you know, nothing too crazy. This next one is where I used velocity for the first time in Sony Vegas. It's really slow in the beginning, nothing happens, but you can see right here. Just trying new shit out. I would get a lot of songs from, what was this, like, yeah, Rap Nation and shit, so it's, I don't know, it was whatever. This one, I think, holds up kind of nice. This one was just a 1v5 my friend had, and I used a song from Hotline Miami, which I loved at the time. And I did little velocity things here and there. It's such a dumb clip. But yeah, it's fine. It's like not too like corny. There's no text in the beginning. It's just like he gets an ace. It is what it is. Then we go and do that for a while. Just little CSGO frag movies. I'm pretty sure around this time too I was recording cinematics differently. The way I said before with the panning keys. I think this is the video where I first did it. Yeah. So the movements look a little smoother, but the framing is just all over the place. They're still not good. So then we get to the first BO2 edit. I had no idea what I was doing. Cinematics are already better than the CSGO edits just because the dolly cam was built in. No color correction, no effects really, just some panning. Like, I just bought the DLC skin, so I'm using this on like every gun. And I just went around and killed bots, and then like the framing is all over the place. Like, homie's all the way down here. I don't know what's going on there. This was my second BO2 edit. This one was like okay. It was definitely better than the last one. I had more character. There's more going on, and so the whole like gimmick of this one was it was all POV in the beginning. This guy comes in with the power shield, and then it goes to the death cinematics. I remember this edit. We're back at CSGO here. And this was the first edit that I was really happy with. I felt like I was figuring it out. Syncing was way better. I also didn't know like how to go about editing. I didn't know how to go about editing scopes into clips, so I would just go right to the shot so they all look like no scopes. Then we go through a lot of garbage. This is probably the first like big breakthrough I had, which is weird because it's pretty isolated. Everything after this is pretty garbage. But this one, I can't remember if I either started using HLAE to do the cam pathing for the cinematics, or I was doing them the same way and I just got better at recording cinematics the way I was doing it. This one had this really cool effect right here that I think fit really nice. It syncs nice, it's pretty hard. Color grading is ass. So that one I was pretty happy with. I took clips from OCC contests, like the one clip contests. Didn't enter them because I would just go to the older videos and take the clips from there to use. So those are meaningless. Then this one is where cinematics started to make a little bit more sense, like framing and just like, except for this, I don't know what I'm focusing on, just the window, I guess. I don't know. This one was weird. Just like this weird like overlay thing going on here. It felt like when I edited the clips, I fucked something up because the velocity, I was doing it how I always would, but it was just fast as shit for some reason. This one is one that I think holds up quite well. This is probably the best one from around this era. Just little transitions like that I thought were really nice looking. Cinematics were getting better with the framing. I would do this selective color effect. I was using the shit out of this. It has like a cool atmosphere to it. This intro, I thought came out quite well. Even though like I hate these text intros now, like I would never do this, but for what it is, I think it's fine. This one, like I was getting into Flying Lotus at the time, so I did this weird like radio effect on the audio and tried to do this VHS thing, but I didn't really know how to commit to it, so it ends up just being this overlay at the bottom with a 4:3 aspect ratio and awful velocity. Then this one is where I figured out a little hack. If my cinematics weren't framed well when I recorded them initially, I figured out, hey, I could just zoom in and get it framed better. So this like running one was way zoomed out and shit. Kind of sacrificed some quality, but it made everything look a little bit more intentional and like planned out, I guess. This one I thought was really cool. The song choice was nice, and I started using this like frame in a frame technique where you just put a smaller video in a bigger video. Gives it some character, and it's one of the more standout ones in this era of my videos. And then we're back to CSGO. And so this is when the community was getting really into lo-fi, and I had no idea what the name of the genre was, but I loved it and I really wanted to find some of it. So I forget how I found this song, but I didn't look up lo-fi, and I had a very limited supply, and velocity's looking a bit better. It's not like rushed or... This one's alright. It's nothing really to write home about, but the going out and looking for music that I enjoyed that other people were using and like trying to find music that's similar, this was the edit where I first did that, and then it just keeps going from there. So song choice from here on out gets a lot better, which makes the edits better because I'm enjoying the music I'm editing to a lot more. This one was kind of cool. I reused a lot of clips that I had already recorded, minus the Black Ops 1. But I had this pretty cool theme where I'd reverse part of the audio and do that black and white effect. And then this outro I thought was really good. This holds up pretty well. It looks good. Something to note at this time, I was pretty much only editing in 60 FPS, which is going to change eventually. And once I do make the switch from 60 to 24, I think the edits start getting like infinitely better. Then we get to this one, which I posted this one on the video game editing subreddit, and that's how I met the team I was on for a while. Shout out the boys. This one I learned how to do this like still rotating cinematic. Little effects like this are just like being implemented more just giving each edit a little more flavor, because up until this point I've just been doing a lot of the same. It felt like I'm very stuck to syncing to the beat, instead of like here I could have synced to the vocals, which maybe would have made it more interesting at times. Really, this one had some cool ideas. This one had like these colored squares. Yeah. And there was like this old vaporwave scrap and cafe. This is where, so the perception guys hit me up, and then this is the application to their team. This one had a lot of cool ideas. First things first, like the CC, like the color grading rather, it fits the song pretty well. I'm back to doing like the selective color, but it's more intentional now. It feels like the song's kind of warm and cozy, and then I did all the clips on this snowy map and only did the oranges, which I think fit the song very well. Here I'm doing picture in a picture again, but like I'm sprucing it up a little bit. I have a bunch of duplicates of it, and then I take them out. And I'm pretty sure this was like a stock kind of video that I tweaked to make like just like harsh white, and then went into the text. With this one, I will say I sent this to some editing Skype group chat. This was Skype era. And one of the guys said, take your time with shit, you're rushing shit, it's obvious. So I took his advice on that and then made this, which I think was one of the first edits where people were really giving it positive feedback. This intro, tried a little motion graphics in Vegas here, and this was inspired by, I was sitting in Disney with the fam, and in the room, like they have like promotional shit on the TV, and they kind of had these scrolling images, so I tried to do that, and I was listening to this lo-fi tape over and over again on the trip, so then it all just kind of came together. The edit has a lot more power than edits before, and with this intro and shit, it has a lot of character. And then this idea at the end I thought was kind of cool. I have like the seagulls going for just like the leaves of the palm tree, and then it zooms out and it's like in a city. This one, we're still at 60 FPS. We're not like really improving rapidly here, but I'm trying new ideas. So with this long intro to the song, I do this scrolling effect that goes into the clip, do a little displacement on that, and it's clean. It's really slow and kind of boring. This one holds up pretty well. I was getting into like using green screens in CSGO. This one unfortunately is 60 FPS. Again, I feel like this one, if it was 24, would feel a lot better. There's some cool frames in here. Like this holds up pretty well. But I'm getting more creative with using multiple layers and shit like that, doing more motion graphics and stuff like that. Then we get to, there's this cool little filler that doesn't have any music, but I think like going back to that Flying Lotus edit where I couldn't really figure out a VHS aesthetic. This, I think it turned out a lot better, and it has this CCTV kind of vibe. Then we get into the next era of the videos. This is the first edit where I believe I use 24. We're at 24 now. Actually, we're at 30. Okay. The fuck? So not 60, and it'll show for sure. So up until this point, I was using this Tom McCoy pan and crop and like velocity tutorial a ton, like where he does these transitions that just go from one corner of the screen to the next one, and I would use the shit out of that with no real direction. It doesn't exactly change here, but it gets a lot better. We're zooming in, we're going down to the left and up, and it flows a lot better. The frame rate looks a lot better. I like this song a lot. And this is where like I sort of started to come into my own. Around this time, it was obvious I was taking ideas from other places, but this pan and crop technique that I was doing evolves into the style that I do now. Then this one I think holds up pretty well, but it copied delineate and like that first clip and shit. But here, the last one was 30. This one's also 30, which is interesting. The syncing is still really basic, but it's passable, I guess. This one, I think, is where I sort of upgraded a little bit. We're at 24 now. Here we go. And you can already tell, like, it just seems more cinematic. And this, I did these cool, like, little cinematic transitions here that I think sync up pretty well with the music. Also, the color grading I'm very happy with in this, like this blue and orange. But we still have this problem of framing with cinematics. Like, what are we looking at? Some are pretty good, like this one I think looks kind of nice. So there's still a few errors we got to iron out, but so far we're starting to get into the style that I would keep using for a while, that eventually evolves from here. I have a few more that are a lot of the same, like this one just feels not like very important. We don't really move forward at all. There's no real new ideas happening. We're still using Japanese text, so we're still in the same spot. This one we did switch it up. This one I'm very happy with. This edit holds up more than the other ones, I think, because I went for a style that the entire edit is just still shots the whole time. I was taking like a photography class in high school at this time, so I'm starting to understand how to frame things a bit better. And it kind of tells this story. It's like you start out, everything's fine, and then people break in and shit, and then you get in the car and leave. Now you're on your yacht, and they find you again, and then the bullet shots are muffled in the background, kind of telling the story. And yeah, then you get in the copter and land dip. So that one was pretty neat. We kind of go back to more of what I was doing before in the next edits. So this one's, there's like a lot of panning. This one's just kind of ugly too, like the colors just don't look good. So that one was kind of ass, but I remember this one people did enjoy. And I was really leaning into like the panning and zooming around with this one. Like it was in full effect here. Which, if my cinematics were a little bit better and I could like pan with more intention and not just doing it for the sake of that's what I do kind of thing, I think this could have turned out a lot better. But I will say that like the panning does add a lot of energy. Clips are flowing, things are making a little bit more sense. I would have this tendency before this point to record a ton of clips before I even started editing. Whereas I think at this point and from this, like around this time, I figured out that like you need to record the cinematics you need and not just a ton of random ones. This one was kind of nice. It's alright. Nothing new really happened here though. This edit was, now we're entering a new era once again. So it was shit out edits era. Then we got to running and I starting to understand shit more and found a style that I liked. And then we get to here where I figured out how to like record cinematics. I started using a controller at this point when putting in the dolly cam points, because I was able to like get more control than using keyboard and mouse. So they're not all perfect, but they're definitely better than what we've seen up until this point. Things are actually in the frame. It all makes sense. The cinematics are leading us to the next clip. You know, there's a lot that's good about what's going on with the cinematics. There's a lot of problems with it, of course, but it is what it is. Cool little outro. I was also just following a trend that was happening where people were like using logos and shit. The next one, I think this is probably from here on, they all start to hold up a lot better. This one has really good like clip flow. and like just going from one thing to the next thing, introducing what's happening. You can tell what's going on. I'm not zooming everywhere. Cool little effects like the goggles there. I was implementing like little touches like that. So yeah, there was a lot I learned there. Cinematics got even better than the last one. The color grading's fine. I think it's fitting enough. So this one I was starting to use the demo system. I'm not sure if I had already used it at this point, but I could see that this is somebody else's clips I probably found on the in-game like demo finder thing. Then this, I'm pretty sure I just hit on bots. Clip choice is very important for making a good edit. So that's something that I think I was starting to figure out a lot more. So then we get to station, which this was like the big breakout. In the start, I have this channel idea that's switching channels at the top left. And we go through, and there was a way to introduce different logos. So we get to channel 00, which for anyone that doesn't know, there's an editor named Shiner00, and I was a huge fan of his. So this took 2 ideas from 2 of his edits. This middle one, which is like a 3D render of this really clean white like structure kind of thing, and then this kaleidoscope thing in the back, which are from 2 different edits. But I kind of made like the Shiner channel. That was the whole point of this. Just as a little tribute, I guess. I mean, he's not dead or anything. I don't know why I felt the need, but it came out pretty cool. And then, so we get to channel 1, and that's when the edit starts. And this, I really start figuring it out here. This is just the motion. We're going from idea to idea. The panning and cropping is still there, but it's used with way more intention than ever before. Like here, we hit the first clip. On the second beat here, I go left so that I can go back right, and then zoom back out to hit the next clip, which just gives it a little bit of flavor in between the 2 shots. I think that holds up pretty well. The velocity is a lot better. It has this weight to it now. Shots like feel more impactful, especially with these pistols here. I had this tendency to rush the end of edits because I just wanted them to be done. I wanted to watch them myself and put them out there. So this whole last clip feels like a drop in quality from the rest of the edit. So I learned a lot at that point. Velocity was a big improvement there. Nailing the style of like the TV and shit like that. Really like doing research, watching clips to make that right. And then the panning and cropping being like tamed from the just mess it was before. Then we have a bunch of scraps and filler and shit. But I couldn't really land an idea that I really enjoyed until we got to Mellow Yellow, which this is the edit that most people know me for. And there's a lot to unpack here about like what I learned with this edit. The main thing is that I'm doing the clip editing, like the syncing in Vegas, and then going to After Effects to do all the visual effects. Little transitions like that. Knowing when to use the crop to get from one clip to the next. Cinematics get a lot better in this edit too. I'm also hitting better clips on bots that are like way more usable. Because I would listen to this song and like know what clips I want there. Just because I've at this point I had gained the knowledge necessary to visualize edits in my head and then create them. So here, this is probably the best part of the edit. This whole LSAT cinematic part. Where we start with him shooting, and then we go to who he's shooting, and then we zoom all the way back up to him. But again, I rushed the end of this. So I just wanted it to be done. So that's definitely the edit that is my most popular, I'd say. Definitely not my best though, in my opinion. Then I was just grinding, doing a bunch of Mito HCs, which were a ton of fun. I wouldn't say I really learned a lot during those, but it was a lot of good practice. And I had to try different ideas on the spot. Those aren't really that important. Then we get to my first COD 4 edit, which this one takes a lot of ideas from Shiner and Delineate. So for that reason, I don't really like this one all that much. I do a second COD 4 edit. I did learn how to fake clips a lot better. So I would have multiple instances of COD 4 open, and then I would connect to the LAN server. So this is like me on another client, and so I would put in a command like walk or something like that, and then I would alt tab to the main one, and it looks like there's more motion. I had that guy crouch and shoot. That's really the only thing I learned though. And everything I had made up until this point led me to making this frag movie, which is my favorite video on my channel probably, I'd say. Which making things for like my IRL friends was always a lot of fun, because we could watch it all together. So this is just a really long frag movie compared to the frag movies I was making years ago. The frags were a lot better. The editing's a lot better. Everything is way more intentional. I would record specific clips just to fill in certain parts. So I'm very happy with this video, but it doesn't really fit into what I'm talking about with like learning each edit. But I just wanted to point that one out. Then we have a few scraps, and then we get to Monday, which this was supposed to be part of a very long project where I would do a different edit for each day of the week. But this one, cinematics are getting better. The VFX are kind of all over the place. This one had a lot of cool ideas though, like the flow of going from him shooting to the guy that kills him. Here you zoom in, and then we always get to wherever we need to be, and then it has this cool outro thing. I was messing around with AE. I stopped using After Effects, I think around this time, I want to say. But that edit was supposed to be part of this really long project. There we go. Tuesday, I would just spell all the days of the week in a weird way. This one was Wednesday, Thursday, right? You get the idea. But that never happened. And we get to 64, which this one was weird. Some VFX were really ugly, like this shit looks gross, the yellow. This little sequence in front of the ATMs, I think is very cool. And the way I did this was I was just in third person with my controller, and I was just wiggling the joystick in a circle. And then I just went in and zoomed in and out, which made it look like the camera was starting close to him and moving out. But little things like that are like how I implemented the panning and cropping better to give things more character. These cinematics are cool though, under the characters. You know, there was some cool ideas here, but it just felt weird and also like a step back from like Monday and Mellow Yellow. Then we get to Prune, which I think is one of my better edits. There's a lot I don't like about it that I don't think turned out all that well, but there's definitely one sequence in particular that I think is like the best editing I've done, and like clip recording. I was having a lot of fun with this one, like hunting clips. So this first one I hit. This next one was really low key, like not a lot of views on the Black Ops 2 like demo player thing. Around this time, it was every edit that came out, every Black Ops 2 edit that came out had some sort of like overused clip. For the most part, I think using my own clips and clips that weren't used by a lot of people gave the edit more character. When I was looking for the clips, I took the map into account. So we're on Raid, we're on Nuketown, we're on Nuketown Hijacked, Nuketown, like Raid, just those three maps. And that's just because it fits the song. These are all bright, colorful maps, like clean maps. If I picked like the carrier or something like that, it just wouldn't really fit aesthetically. Like this beautiful kitchen here that's all nice and has all these different shapes and shit. That's something that I don't think enough people take into account when they're looking for clips or trying to hit their own clips. Cinematics are getting really, like, just a lot better at this point. This is the best sequence I've ever edited, I'd say. Up until that first cinematic of the Scar clip. So kind of break this down here, like what techniques I used. So we hit a shot, and then there's this cool cinematic where he kind of bugged out and like his death animation was in midair, which I think looked kind of cool actually. Hit this no scope, and then so right here I'm panned all the way out, and I zoom into the right so that I have the room to zoom left. And then I record the next cinematic knowing that I'm going left. So then all I gotta do is go from one to the next, and you get this really smooth transition, especially because the white tile matches up. We do something similar here, where we go into the player's chest, and then I fade the next clip in from black, so that it's like he covered the camera. And then we hit this cinematic. I start zooming in slowly so that I can go to the left, because this cinematic goes to the left, and then that transitions smoothly as well. And again, the habit of rushing the shit out of edits at the end happened again, and it's fine. So I've been saying that a lot in this video, like everything's just fine. This was my first upload on the T3C like main channel, which was very cool and a goal of mine. And that was one of my last like full edits in that style, where I would, I was at 24 FPS. I was taking a lot of time making edits, and then I go to this one, which is a bit shorter, but is packed with a lot more detail, I think, than Prune. This is also where I started smoking weed, and it's kind of evident, like with the fucking intro and shit. Like it's, everything's more colorful. I'm starting to use like trying to do motion graphics more in Vegas. I would just sit there for hours just working on each little part of this intro, just high out of my mind, using all these different logos. I didn't really expect to get into like RM or even Odyssey for that, maybe Odyssey, but they really just look nice, like this RM logo with the gradient, I think just looks sick. And then once you get to the actual clip editing, I think it kind of falls off. It's cool, very colorful and all that shit, but the sync is really boring. And with such a chaotic song, I could have done a lot more. And I rushed it at the end. This little outro is cool, but the clips at the end I think were rushed. Then we get to this, which this was a long time after Spacetime. I posted these. And these are just a few scraps I'd worked on. I wanted to come back to editing, but I couldn't find the motivation to finish anything. There's some cool ideas in here though, but this ended up like kind of being a full edit, putting all these clips together, all the scraps. Here in the beginning, this cinematic here I think looks nice. This one I tried new shit with though. With that cinematic, I was just sitting in one spot, just waving my mouse around, and then I synced it up later. And then here, I took screenshots from these different shots in the video, and I went into Photoshop and added the text so that I can get like the colors all perfect, and the framing of the text and the font choice. Because it's a lot faster to do all that shit in Photoshop than I would export just the text and then edit or animate them in Vegas. So here I took like the screenshot from about here and added the words. And, you know, kept doing that until we get to this. And then this third scrap, I think, is probably my best edit, maybe. The sync is getting way more interesting, like doing little flashes when she starts talking or whatever, or starts rapping. Here I was very intentional with the clips I hit, like they were all faked on bots. So I knew for this one that I wanted to be on this map, looking down, shooting, and then look up, fade the gun away, and have like the cityscape there. And that shit just came with a lot of time editing, just knowing exactly like what location I want to be in, just being familiar with BO2 maps. The cinematics were cool. The effects I think were fitting. I'm very happy with this one, and I wish I finished it. This is also when I started really leaning into using the POV of guns like on a green screen. So I would have this all separated so that I could do little effects to each. So right here, like the gun's duplicated, it's zooming up, it's fading up. And I doubled down on that later. Then I make this Skater XL edit, which the only thing that this one taught me is that I now figured out that I love 12 FPS. It looks so good. Just has this amazing like motion to it. I don't really know how to explain it. But the edit isn't all that good. This edit, which I also wish I finished. So now the panning and cropping is where it needs to be. The clip editing is better. I'm starting to use green screens more. I am really into music now, finding new underground music. So like all the songs are more personal to me and stuff I really actually want to edit. It's just all kind of coming together here. The sync is way cooler. We sync to the 808 in the beginning. 1, 2, 3, and then we go with his voice there. Like when he says that, he looks down, and then there. It's not exactly synced to the 808, which I really like. The clip just kind of goes until the drums are done, and then it slows down. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's all done with more intention. Like that's the biggest thing, I think. The biggest takeaway I've been saying intention a lot, but like just going into each edit, knowing exactly where I want to be on the map, what clip I want to hit, what gun I want to use, what attachments are on the gun. Like, do I need green screens for this? What cinematics do I need? Like, that's all this shit that's happening now that I think makes edits a lot better, and a lot of that isn't even done in the program necessarily. So here, I made this in a few hours, start to from hitting the clip to rendering. So this song's very repetitive, and so I kind of emulate that with just doing the same cinematic over and over again with very small tweaks. And I think it fits. Like I kind of intentionally made I didn't do any depth of field or anything like that. I just wanted it to be more raw. I crank the ambient occlusion so that characters have like this dark stroke to them. I'm also working in 720p now instead of 1080 because I think it fits the more like internet vibe of the songs that I'm using. So like 720p at 12 FPS is what I work in now. And it just fits the music I use a lot better. Just the sync being all over the place and less predictable. And then this is where we ended up. So this is like the newest thing I've made, the newest video game edit I made. And it's all coming together there, like how to record proper cinematics, clip editing, syncing, choosing the right gun, the right map. So I chose this MP7. I put a holographic on it because it had this reticle, which I thought looked sick. I try to use like kill streaks and weapons that aren't used all that often, or just look cool to me, which I think is a nice privilege when you hit your own clips as opposed to like finding demos. So that's where I'm at now. I still edit videos, but I'm under a different alias. I go by Pirate Gator. This is my music and clip channel alias, and these are just funny clip compilation kind of things that I make with my friends. I do want to make more like just traditional edits. There's video game edits in the future because I do miss it. But for now, I'm gonna make more educational videos, I guess, on this channel, like maybe like dissecting bigger like edits by other people, like how to improve, how to record better cinematics, like shit like that. Just because I don't really use the knowledge anymore, so I might as well share it all. So I thought this was a nice starting point, going over my own edits, critiquing them, and shit like that. But yeah, so I hope everyone enjoyed. This playlist I think is public. I don't know if every video in it is public. If you do want to check some of these out. But that's it for me. That's all I got. I hope you enjoyed going down a memory lane with me. And just look out for the other videos, I guess. All right. I love you all. Goodbye. Bye.